Do you feel like you've lost momentum in your creative career? I've had this happen to me where I've been working for years developing a thread, and I get some modest success. I'm making a living from my creative talents, and then just gradually rot starts to set in. I start losing momentum. It's harder to find projects. It's harder to keep the income going. Things feel like they're grinding to a halt. And when this happens, it can be very difficult, very stressful. You start to have financial challenges and you're just worried. Is this going to work? Or do you need to try something else? And we all know that change is inevitable. That's part of life. Things are always shifting around us. In fact, if you try and maintain a status quo, that's actually a sign of atrophy. You're either growing or you're decaying, and it's very hard to have any middle ground. There are going to be moments where things are progressing beautifully for you, where your efforts are coming to fruition. You're starting to see signs that all the investment of effort, sweat, all the determination, it's all coming together and things are working out for you. And that's fabulous. Enjoy those moments. But there's also a flip side where you start losing momentum and things are not working out. And you can feel the winds of change coming for you. I always say it's better to stay ahead of the winds of change, that if you feel that things are shifting, it's better for you to accelerate that change. I see this in the creatives that I've been working with, my students, so to speak, and that some of them have had careers work out, but now they're needing to shift gears. They need to find something else to do. Well, it's worth noting this is a very modern predicament. Most people in their careers and jobs are going to have to pivot a number of times over the course of their working life. Commonly, what I'm hearing now, between 3 to 5 times, you're going to have to pivot. So it's worthwhile to become good at this, because what you're doing now is likely not what you're going to be doing 10 years from now and 10 years after that, or even 5 years from now and 5 years after that. A couple things for you to remember is when you're looking to pivot, don't expect it to happen right away. Don't just expect instant results. As you're looking to pivot, you're going to need to have a scenario where you've got a hybrid situation. You're doing something in your creative career, you're feeling like you need to evolve out of it, you're starting a new thread, and you're going to have to live in that in-between space while you invest your energy in getting the next thing going, while hopefully keeping things churning as much as you can with what you've been doing thus far. So I can give you some examples of that. I spent about 15 years in the game industry. So I started out as a video game designer. I went between designing and producing, associate producer level at EA, and then gradually reached a creative director level on some projects there, especially the Speed Hunters program. And then from there, I joined Slightly Mad Studios and worked on the Project Cars 2. And I was there maybe half a year, and they promoted me to Chief Business Officer of the studio. And I did a non-creative role for a while. I led all the licensing programs with all the auto manufacturers, the racing tracks, and their integration in game, all the marketing programs and integration with esports. And this became my focus for a number of years in the game industry. But after a number of years of doing this, I started to have this sense of unease that I wanted something else. And I wanted to get back to my creative roots, because that is my true superpower. And that is the thing that makes me fulfilled. I started looking around to see, well, what else could I get involved with? I did a brief stint at RoboRace as a deputy CEO, but I had my eye on moving to LA and joining the race service crew. Now, it's worth noting that I went through a period of time where I worked at race service for 1 year for free. I did not get paid a salary. I just went in there and I was just getting involved with different projects. And it was only after I proved myself, after I pivoted slowly, found some clients to work with, and got my own projects going there, that things started to work. And I had this gap of about a year where I made no money. And thankfully, I was in a position where I had enough money in the bank that I could exist for that period of time. And that was the pivot I made. And I can tell you it was challenging. At many points, I thought, is this really going to work? The point here is that you have to be prepared for these transitions. They can take some time, and you have to be ready for them. You might have to take on part-time work or freelance work, or do something that's not particularly fulfilling for you as the creative just to make ends meet as you pivot into the next area. Now, it's worth noting that as you pivot in, you're not starting from scratch, because in any role that you do, you're going to have skills that you've built up. There's going to be skills that you can transfer over. You are not starting from zero. And in some ways, the notion of pivoting maybe is the wrong image for you to have in mind, but it's more that you're stacking skills and you're getting involved in other areas. You don't just take everything you've done before and just burn a bridge to it and stop doing what you're doing, but you just change your focus and you start getting involved with new projects. So, for example, if you're an actor and you're not feeling fulfilled by acting anymore, well, you might go onto the other side of the camera. You might want to start directing. You might want to start writing and developing your own projects. We know that this is the era of the multi-hyphenate creative. And that premise of having multiple things that you do, of course, you have started out with a core foundation. You are an expert in one area as you start. But then when you stack and you focus on another area, you start developing that expertise and adding to your skill set. So this is the way to look at it. It's not going back to zero and starting over. It's more that you add the next thing in. You move on to the next chapter and you bring those skills along with you. As we prepare ourselves for this world where we are continually shifting what we're doing over time, well, the one thing that will help you more than anything else is mastering the art of learning. Become good at learning. And that can mean you're adopting the new skills, the new levels of expertise in the next chapter, in the next discipline that you're choosing. Also learning new tools. A lot of us are using digital tools now on computers or cameras, as I'm talking into a camera here. But just understanding and being able to quickly pick up new tools is a tremendous skill to have. Of course, in any new area, there's some base paradigms that you should understand and strategies and best practices. Sorry to use the corporate speak, but that's the best way to describe it. The next thing for us to focus on is the importance of your network, who you know. And I talk about this at length. For those of you that are connected, are part of collaborative communities, have business contacts, know people around the world, just have a big contact base of people that are in different industries, the doers, the producers, the managers, the business owners, the founders. The wider a network that you have, well, it's going to be easier for you to find those new doorways that you're looking for. I talk about this a lot, being integrated into a community, being integrated into a network of business contacts, being integrated into a group of trusted collaborators. The more that you've focused on this, the more that you've developed this area of your creative practice, the simpler and smoother things are going to be as you look to the next chapter. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that having a strong public persona as a creative is a requirement of any modern creative practice. It's just the name of the game. You have to focus on that social feed. You have to have a web page. And if you have this foundation of a strong public persona, personal brand, as you develop a new chapter, a new offering, a new medium that you're working in, and you're adding that to your personal brand, again, you're not starting over. It's additive. It's not subtracting and starting over. So I don't want anyone that's needing to pivot, that's needing to start over as such, to think of themselves as a failure. You're not a failure. You're just moving into the next phase. You're moving forward and you're opening new doors and you're trying new things. And this is really the way to lens what we're talking about here. And if you've invested and developed your public-facing brand and your story, things are going to be smoother for you. It's all just going to keep adding up. What we're talking about here is progressing to becoming a multi-hyphenate creative. So you may have started out with that first chapter and invested in a set discipline, but now you're going to be expanding the definition of what type of creative you are. I hope that you can feel a sense of possibility as you look to the future, and that you are not full of fear, and that you're not feeling like things are not working, and that you're not feeling like things have failed, but more that you can take your experience, everything that you've learned so far with the chapter that you're moving out of, and as you look into the next phase, you're seeing how you can bring along all that experience, all that skill. There may be some elements of what you just did that you're going to pull along with you into the next phase of what you're doing in this new practice that you want to get into. Just remember, it's not a black or white situation anymore, that you have to do this, you stop, then you do this, and everything you've done before, you're not doing that anymore. Things are just not so black and white, but it's more that you're on a pathway. And as you develop those skill sets and you stack those skills, there hopefully will be a multitude of different creative projects that you can do. Cool? I think I'm going to expand on this further in some future courses and do some workshops on these areas, because I know a lot of creatives have this challenge where they've been doing something for a period of time, it's not working, and they're trying to figure out, well, what do I do now? Where do I go? How do I pivot? And so I think this is worthwhile for us to deep dive into a little bit further in the future. Anyway, I think we can stop now for this YouTube video. Of course, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that as we build up this YouTube channel. Okay, talk soon. Bye-bye.